Hello, this is Neil from iPaintGirls.com. Visit iPaintGirls.com for more free tutorials. So we're going to continue on this tutorial painting Lara Croft, anime, manga style, or comic book style. And so what I did is I just zoomed in really close and I used my pen tool. Notice that little white spot there. Make sure I'm on my base layers. I'm going to unlock it and then pick my pen tool here. Alt key to grab my color and then hit that little part there. So I just went ahead and did that, and just there's some little nooks and crannies here and there that it doesn't catch. Sometimes you might want to change the background color to black for you can see those little places where you might have missed, and like that, just temporarily change it to black and you can change it back to white when you need to. But this is good just to like I said, go in and see that there's places I went outside the line. So make sure I'm on my base layer, pick my pen tool, my pen brush rather. And so my pen brush is just a brush that only has the size set to pen pressure. Opacity and all that's turned off. And it was a bummer because what I had done with the hair is I forgot to use that method I showed you with the select expand method. And since I forgot to go in and do that, I had to go in on all the hair with my pen brush and trace against all the white lines that were created. And that was very time consuming, but whatever. It worked. I did it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually paint the background kind of gray color. The reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to start shading. And I want to make sure that I don't get too dark or too light, and so you want to use a neutral color if you don't paint the background ahead of time. Typically I would probably paint the background ahead of time, but I wanted to focus on the comic book style for coloring a body first. Well, we just had Deja Vu. Sometimes I like Deja Vu, sometimes I don't. That one was a good one. Okay, so now we're going to get down to shading. Go back to the base colors. I'm going to go ahead and lock it so I don't actually work on that layer, because I don't want to paint on that layer. I want to use it for when I need to grab something. So let's say I wanted to start painting the hair and start adding shadow to the hair. I'd go to select color range, and then I select the color range I want, skin, or let's say in this case hair, and then click OK. And now just the hair is selected, and so I can start shading the hair if I wanted to. And let's say I'm going to use this kind of purplish color. Come way down here for it's dark, pick a soft brush, make a layer on top of that one, and then I could start painting in the shadows or whatever. And I can also get rid of the lines by hitting Control H, but notice the selection is still there, and so I can just paint on the hair and nowhere else. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and step back a second. I just wanted to show why we have the base layer there and why we're not going to be touching anymore. It's just for when we can go back and grab a selection of a part of an object that we want to paint, and it adds the mask to it really quickly. Okay, so right click on the shadows layer, go to layer properties, and shadows, I think violet works good because that kind of typically violet color is kind of what we do for the shadowing. And I'm going to call it shadows. This actually isn't shadows, it's the shading, but whatever. We'll call it shadows for now. You can name it whatever you want. I usually don't name my layers anyway. Now before we actually start painting her, I want to show you something with a dummy cylinder for you get the concept of shading really quick and light and shadow, because this is probably the hardest part, is doing shading. So let's say I fill this in with my skin color, and then let's say I'm going to make a layer on top of it. Also, actually, another technique I can show you really quick, which is kind of useful sometimes, that this makes your files bigger, but I could then make a copy of my base layer. For now, that's going to be my shadow layer, and then I can go to lock transparency. This way, I can only paint in that part. I can't paint anywhere else but right there. So but that's not the color I want to use. I use this pinkish color. So anyway, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it obviously is how I'm going to be doing it. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. I'll make a new layer on top of it that's blank, and then hold down the control key, and while holding down the control key, select that little icon there, and that brings the things around it. Then you can hit Control H to make the lines go away, and now you have the same principle. And so I'm going to hold down the Shift key and make a straight line. Okay, didn't come all the way through for some reason. Make another one, make one over there. Okay, so let's say this is the shading, right? Because it's going to be, oh, that's a little too much. I want to go back a bit. Okay, like that. And then the highlight's going to be running down the center line there. Now, what's important to do is think basically first. So knowing that the light's going to be hitting kind of right here. Let's say the light's going to be hitting somewhere, right around there, right? Then you would have, the shadows on both sides of the cylinder, but you'd also always have like backlight hitting it and stuff. But don't think about all that right now. Don't try to paint all that. Paint in sections. So first paint your shadowing so it's all basic and simple, and then I'm going to show you a cool technique for doing the one way to do cool highlights, especially like with metals and stuff like that. So make a new layer. This will be the highlight layer. I'm going to fill that layer in with black. And notice it only, I forgot I still have my selection there. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of my selection because I want to be able to select outside of it as well. For now, at least with the black. And then I can control if I want to select in it by using the mask. So I'm going to fill that in with black. And then I'm going to go to normal, or layer options. I'm going to go to color dodge. Now I just figured this out before by accident. Hold on a second. Right, I'm going to make another layer on top of that one. That's what I forgot to do. And then I'm going to fill this in with black. And then I'm going to make it color dodge. Like that. It's important you do that stage. Now, if for some reason it makes everything light, which it's not supposed to do, then go to your image mode and make sure you're on RGB. I was in CMYK, and it doesn't work in CMYK, so it does work in this mode though. And then you pick white, and you can shade with white now, or highlight with white. Pick a soft brush, and watch what happens. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and run down the middle. And so this is a way to get metal. Let's say I didn't want it to hit the background though, so then I can hold down the Control key on that base layer there, and then I can hit Control H if I wanted to hide that. Hold down the Shift key and bam, run it like that. I can do a little bit softer, and then have it maybe brighter in the middle like that. And so that's a really good way to do metal and stuff. But it's also a good way if you turn the opacity down to do highlights, and you can get really neat effects that way. But anyway, I'm just going to lightly highlight this, let's say, like so. And I could take away the pen pressure altogether, if I get perfect. But just like something like that, say, okay, now we got the highlight going on. Make a slightly bigger one maybe, and run it a little bit more. Let's say it is kind of like metal. Also, to don't erase on this layer, use black again if you wanted to get rid of some of that and kind of dull it down. Don't erase on the dodge layer. Okay, so there we go. Alright, remember I still have my mask up, so if I hit Control H, I can bring it back up to make sure it's still there. And my mask is still there, and now I'm going to take a my hard brush here. This is a paint brush, my main horse brush. Let's say I want to I want backlighting to be this kind of like pink color. And so this brush has opacity and, let me think, just opacity set to pen pressure, nothing else. So size is not. Hold down the Shift key and just kind of lightly run along here. And so let's say that was going to be the backlighting hitting it. So you can also use a soft brush. It just depends on. Oh, I still have it. I need to make another layer on top of that one. I still had the dodge layer. No wonder it was looking weird. And so you can either do a soft brush like that, or you can do that, a hard brush. Just depends what look you want. And so what you have done there is you have slowly built up the the changes, the differences, and then I can maybe add one more, just kind of where it's brighter and comes off the edge. And so this is like your backlighting, another color lighting. This will be the part that's hitting your backsides over here. And then if you wanted to, you can, like, let's say a blue light is kind of hitting this side just a bit on that edge, like that. And so now you have this kind of, full backlit cylinder with the front lighting. So that's, you want to think about it like that whenever you're doing anything. It makes it that much simpler. So first, just do the simple shading, and then add the other light sources, and it'll make it much easier. Hopefully that makes sense, because it's something that took a while for me to really get for myself, and so I wanted to share it. Alright, I'm about to go over time, so please comment and rate. Thank you. We'll come back with the next part, and we'll start shading her.